Hey everybody, it's Colin and welcome back to another Premier Draft of the brand new Bloomburrow. Without further ado, let's get into the Pack 1 Pick 1. Pretty weak pack here, not a super big fan of anything, honestly. I do like Plume Creed Mentor a lot, but I don't like starting with gold cards that tie us to one specific archetype. This still might just be the strongest card in the pack. It's an incredible card when you do end up in blue-white birds, which is about having flyers and non-flyers on the board. For the mono-colored cards, the strongest cards are going to be like Blooming Blast for mediocre removal, or Seasoned Warren Guard, which can be pretty strong in the right deck where you have rabbit tokens or food tokens or anything like that. But I'll just take the Plume Creed Mentor here. Not super pumped about our rare or most of those uncommons. For pick 2, we have a fun build-around rare. The Dowerport Mage is a decent build-around frog. It's a 2-mana 1/3. Whenever one or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, you draw a card. And for 2 mana, you can tap it and return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So if you have really good enter the battlefield effects, where you can justify the time and the mana spent bouncing your own card and replaying it, then this can be a pretty great card, since you're re-upping your enter the battlefield effects and drawing extra cards. It's particularly great in the green-blue frogs archetype, because that's where you're already flickering and bouncing your permanents, so even without spending the extra mana on this ability, you can get some card draw going. So we'll take the Dowerport Mage, and it'll be a fine filler card in our blue-white Plume Creed Mentor deck, or it'll be one of our best cards if we end up in green-blue frogs specifically. So for pick 3, this is going to be a little bit of a contentious pick because there's an excellent removal spell that can hit pretty much anything, but there's also my favorite common in the format, the Intrepid Rabbit here. Again, just think this card is absurd in any deck that's even remotely aggressive. It's going to give you 2 creatures and 2 +1/+1 triggers for 4 mana. Gives you a wide board state, helps you break through a large blocker, helps you get extra damage in. It's just incredibly flexible and pretty much always a good draw. So I'm going to take the Intrepid Rabbit over the Banishing Light, even though Banishing Light is pretty excellent removal. Pick number 4, we now see a Plume Creed Escort. This is a fantastic card for the blue-white Flyers deck. It's going to give you a flyer you can put into play at instant speed to trigger your Plume Creed Mentor. It's also giving you protection from removal while not even having to lower your creature count to get it. So it's just excellent all around. Pick 5, another Plume Creed Escort. Maybe Blue-White Flyers is just the archetype for me in this set. I'm secretly a bird man all along. So for pick 6, I do like Waterspout Warden, specifically in a blue-white Flyers deck, a blue-white Birds deck, because you have cards like the Plume Creed Mentor that want you to have non-flyers on the board to activate their abilities. And this is a card that's going to be a non-flyer, but still attack as a flyer to help you get more evasive damage. And so I like that a little better than Moonrise Cleric or Pileated Provisioner here, but not like a ton better. All 3 of these are just kind of filler, but better to take the on-archetype filler than the off-color filler. Pick 7, I'll just rare draft this nonsense. Nothing in that pack looks super playable. Pick 8, I think Baker's Bane Duo is the best card here, but it doesn't really fit with anything we've drafted so far, so we'll just take the Portent. This is kind of awkward card draw. So you dump a bunch of mana into this, and then you need to hit cards of different types. You can exile 1 card of each different type, and then you can draw those cards. So you can draw a land, and a creature, and an enchantment, and an artifact, and an instant, and a sorcery, if you're like super, super lucky. But usually it's kind of just overcosted card draw. Like you dig 5 cards deep by spending 6 mana and then maybe hit like 2 or 3 different card types. Not in love with it. Not in love with these packs either. We're getting towards the end of them, and it's getting to be very filler, although Waterspout Warden is playable in exactly 1 archetype, and it's the one we're currently drafting, although we are only 2 cards deep into white so we'll keep that in mind. But we did just open up a second Plume Mentor, which is just an MVP for this archetype, and there's no massive reason to go any other direction. The Hearthborn Battler is just okay in blue-red, so we'll take the Mentor. Alright, let's go. We're living in Magical Christmas Land. We get past the Salvation Swan, another beautiful card for the blue-white bird deck, letting you turn any of your non-flyers into a flyer permanently, and also pretty importantly, giving you a flicker effect. So that works perfectly with our Dowerport Mage, because it's going to trigger the whenever a creature leaves the battlefield without dying ability. And now we have two different cards in our deck. They're going to play really well with good enter the battlefield effects. So if we can find creatures with good ETBs, we'll be scooping those up, and Intrepid Rabbit has a pretty great one. So I'm going to take another copy of that. Another non-flying creature for the deck as well. Very happy with how this draft is turning out for us. It's been a pretty simple one, but a powerful one nonetheless. Pick 4. We don't have any hard removal yet, so I'm perfectly fine taking Repel Calamity, just for clearing out something big. Alright, pick 5. Whenever one or more tokens enter, draw a card. Level 2, create a copy of a token you control. Level 4, all your tokens get +2/+2. Ooh, that is really strong for the right deck. The right deck being a deck with a ton of offspring. Probably ideally green-white rabbits, but we've only got 2 token producers here. Cool card nonetheless, but I think we take a Pileated Provisioner or a Spellgyre, and I'll grab the Spellgyre. Big flexible counter. We do need some 2-drops on curve, and we'd be most happy with 2-mana non-flying creatures like Warren Elder, so that's a pretty easy pick. That's because we get to play a 2-mana creature without flying and follow it up with Plume Mentor on turn 3. It's just the best way to curve out with this kind of deck. Pick 7. Again, I don't actually think Portent of Calamity is that good, because you do need to dump a lot of mana into it to dig pretty far. So we're just going to take the Crumb and Get It combat trick. Maybe even the smaller card draw is fine, the draw 2. But we don't have any otters, so it's always going to be 3 mana. Not the most exciting. Pick 8. I do like Moonrise Cleric and Life Creed Duo as flyers, but I want more 2-mana non-flying creatures, and Jolly Gerbils fits the bill. It's just a 2-mana 2/3 most of the time, but we could randomly cast like a Crumb and Get It, and draw a card off of this. So could be some extra benefit there. Been very unimpressed by Mousetrapper, but we do have 2 Plume Mentor to slap counters onto it, so I'll take it over a Sonar Strike. Here's another Crumb and Get It over the Guard Mouse. Here's a big Crab. That's the only on-color spell there. Not interested in the Guide Mouse. Ooh, we could have been a sweet mice deck, though. Last pick, Seedblade Mentor. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. We open the exact same rare we did in pack 2. It's pretty funny. So 3 Tree Mascot gives us a 2-mana non-flying creature to curve into the Mentor with. So that would be okay. Seed Pod Squire is really not that exciting unless you specifically have some Valiant triggers for it, and we don't. So we just grab like a Shore Up here, but we do already have double Plume Creed Escort for the hexproof part of that trick. We're taking something pretty unexciting here no matter what. I'll grab the Shore Up. I do like the mana efficiency on that as a trick. Pack 3, pick 2. I do like the idea of playing turn 3 Strike Force and then turn 4 Intrepid Rabbit. Double target the Strike Force for +2/+2 on your flying double strike Vigilant Guard. That could be pretty nice. We also have 2 Crumb and Get It's to cast targeting it. I mean, I am absolutely in the market for more 2-mana non-flyers, though, so Warren Elder is a choice as well. I'm going to go for the Strike Force. The random synergies seem pretty fun for that card. Nothing much here. Pack 3, pick 3. All of our white spells are pretty easy to cast, so I think we can take the Lupin Flower Village here, even though we can't tap this for non-creature spells. I mean, we can, but we only get colorless for our non-creature spells out of it. Yeah, I'll take that over, God, this be the 7th 3-drop. Or just some fine card draw or a second shore up. Okay. Another Warren Elder looks great to me. A second Repel Calamity is certainly an option, though. I'd rather get a second Warren Elder. This feels like the card that you really don't want to draw multiples of in the wrong matchup. It's a very fun build around there. Lunar Convocation. Sweet for a bat deck. Pick 5. Play a Pond Prophet, but a little hard to cast, requiring specifically double blue. Probably rather take Sonar Strike at that point. Pick 6. Flowerfoot Swordmaster. As the only mouse in our deck is not that exciting, but it has some pretty fun synergies here, where if we play it with the Offspring ability, so we have a 1-2 and a 1-1, and then like we play an Intrepid Rabbit and buff the 1-2 and the 1-1, they'll also both buff each mouse for +2/+0, so they'll both get buffed for an additional +2/+0. So being able to Valiant onto both of them itself and the Offspring is pretty fun, pretty cute. At this point, pick 8, I think I'll take another Repel over Sonar Striker Village. Just didn't want to take another Repel over a 2-drop creature. Anyways, this also just has other cute Valiant combos with like Plume-Creed Mentor. So I think it'll be fine in here. Okay, I don't think I'll be playing either of these. But I'll take the Mascot. And let's Rare Draft. Hold down that Alt key, see what I've got in the collection, and grab what I don't have. Okay, well, I actually will play double Lupin Flower Village. Alright, we're on 47 cards, 17 creatures, 13 non-creatures. Could cut a couple creatures here, and I think I would really just want to cut the non-flyers. So I have this crab. The rabbits are definitely not getting cut. We got Waterspout Wardens, a Mouse Trapper. Don't think we cut any 2-drops. Yeah, these are the potential cuts here. I have room to cut a couple creatures and still have 15, which is still a good aggressive count, which is what we would like for this deck. You know, for my non-creature spells, if I go 100% instants and sorceries for my non-creature spells, we can try out this Eddie Merc Crab. Get the cost reduction on it, have it be pretty fun. Flash in that enter the battlefield effect, untap, and then just swing for lethal. Feels cool. So we just got one of each of these. Boom. And then 5 cuts out of the non-creatures, so the enchantments can get cut to make the Eddie Merc Crab more consistently small. And then that means Portent of Calamity is really bad because it's only creatures, instant sorceries for particularly relevant card types. And then 3 more cuts to go, probably just top-end spells mostly. Spellgyre, Mind Spiral, Calamitous Tide, all this expensive stuff. Looks pretty fine to me. Yeah, looks spicy. We will call it a deck here. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. We can go Swordmaster into Gerbils, into Rabbit, into Swan. I honestly don't even know if we're supposed to curve out like that, considering this is much better with Offspring. This is much better with Offspring, but we'll see. Okay, there we go. It's going to make things much simpler. Still don't know about the turn 1 Swordmaster play here, but Plume-Creed Mentor as the draw is going to let us hold off on the Intrepid Rabbit, which is great. Plus, the Plume-Creed Mentor draw also makes the Swordmaster play better, because now it's going to be a 3-2 attacker here. Sorry, 3-3. Yeah, it's still just an excellent curve. If I miss a land, I'll still just play the rabbit to keep the pressure on, try to get them killed before they can stabilize off anything big. It's just a real aggressive start. No! Main deck, destroy target creature with flying. But it is a modal spell. They've been making a lot of these because so much best of one Magic is played. Thanks to Magic Arena. So at least this isn't like 2016 and we got by a literal main deck plummet. Plummet was, it was paw patch formation, except the only thing it could do is destroy a creature with flying. So if you were playing like a paper draft and somebody did that to you, it would be like super frustrating. Because you're like, man, you know, half the time I play decks that don't even have a single flyer. Just keeping that pressure on. Opponent is setting up some good value plays. Draw a card off Pawn Profit, and Shoreline Looter is going to keep letting them go through their deck. Alright, the missed land drops would get a little awkward, because Swan would be kind of the nail in the coffin here, but we do still have the really good Plume-Creed Escort to play. So, still favored for now for sure, but the missed land drop can buy them a little bit of time to find something that stabilizes. Some combat tricks here could be massive. Run away together. That's not the worst for me. Just replay the gerbils. I don't think I blow the Plume-Creed Escort this early against that, because that's really not that bad. I could, again, just to keep as much power on board as possible. Then I would have 4 creatures out. Okay, 1 blue mana up and Arena's holding for them, so they could have Shore Up here for +1/+1 hexproof. Using Shore Up on either of these still keeps it at 2 or less toughness to trade into any of these, so we just send in. And Arena's not holding for them right now. So it would be something that's sorcery speed, probably. This is fine, right? Yep, playing Escort doesn't change any of that, so we drop the 3 power creature instead. Wave Rider. Do they have instants and sorceries that matter? There's a run away together, but there's no way they can afford to do that. Pick up their 6-drop. Do they have to? It's you may cast one. I'm surprised they did. They did not have to do that. If I can give my board +1/+0, I win on the spot. Okay, they're just conceding because I'm playing slow. I was just trying to look through my hand if there's any little interaction here that would give +1, but there's not. I could play the Swordmaster and target it, but that's just going to give itself +1/+0. So we just put them to 1 and then probably hold up all our mana. That leaves us really flexible where we can flash in the Swan if they don't do anything, or if they try to kill a creature, I can give Hexproof. I could even Repel Calamity if they play a beefy blocker. Yeah, real good turn to hit them to 1 and hold up instants. But we do start things off 1-0. Alright, here we are for game 2 on the draw. 4 white spells, double island does not feel keepable. Too easy for things to go wrong there. I will keep this one and ditch a 2-drop. I think Warren Elder's just the better card on average, even with the lower toughness up front. It has the more consistently useful ability. Not a lot of gifts in this deck, just a couple. Alright, blue-green frogs from our opponent. Luckily they're starting nice and slow, just going to set up the Gossip's Talent. Once this gets going, it is very scary. It gets them unblockable attacks and flickers their creatures to trigger the enter effects again and again. But until then, they're going to have to spend a lot of mana not affecting the board. to get it to be super scary. It does give them immediate value just surveilling off of playing creatures. Plume Mentor is just such a great card. Honestly, you just play it by itself and it's already good. Just a 2/3 flyer that put a +1/+1 counter on the board is already a good stat line. And it can easily evolve into so much more as the game progresses. So here's a huge surveil from our opponent. Surveil 1 from Gossip's Talent and 2 from the Lightshell duo. There are no 0 mana instants in the format, so I'm just going to rabbit up the Elder for 1 extra power. And put the other one on the Mentor so they can't just chump 5 if they want to. Boom, they are down to 10. We're halfway there. We've got Repel Calamity and Dazzling Denial to hold up next turn. Then there will be 2 instants in our grave, so that the crab only costs 5 mana total. So we can hopefully play crab the turn after that. Things just lining up pretty well here. Alright, tap out for the Polywallop. Fair enough. Here's going to be some big damage here off of the Repel Calamity. Definitely worth doing that over playing the Warden, since we have the Dazzling Denial to hold up alongside casting it here. This puts them to 4. And I do have a bird on board, so Dazzling Denial is going to counter just anything. Snap counter. That is not dead on board. They go to 1 life. They can chump block our Intrepid Rabbit with their 1/3, but yeah, cannot recover from there, so there's the concession from our opponent, and we are 2-0. Speed ran our way into Platinum Tier 4 for the August competitive season. Alright, this hand looks pretty fun. It could absolutely flood out. That would be our risk we're taking, keeping a 4-lander, but Warren Elder into Strike Force into Intrepid Rabbit to double +1/+1 the Strike Force. It's going to present a 6 damage swing in the sky on turn 4. Pretty great. We are against green-black squirrels with 2 of the best build-around uncommons, not only for the squirrels deck, but just in the format in general, as their turn 1, turn 2 play. So, as solid as this hand looks, this is one of the scariest curve outs you can have in the whole set. They've even got a 3-drop to follow it up with. I went from very excited to now having a bit of a bad time. I have gone from very excited to very scared. Oh, sorry, Warren Elder. Need to soak up some damage at this point. Yep. Opponent on the play goes 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. And that is how to lose any game of Magic. Even if they're not great 1, 2, 3, 4 drops in here, the 1, 2, and 4 are really good cards. Yeah, I don't think we're out racing here, but that is our only bet. So let's see how much Strike Force can do for us. We do have the Crumb and get it for it as well for another 6 damage swing. So we can get them down to like 8, but then we probably die after we hit them down to 8. Plus they're a squirrel deck, so they're just going to gain a bunch of life off the food tokens. See, maybe like a well-timed Eddy Merc Crab is our way out of this. Savor the Rabbit. That's a 2nd food token. Meaning they're back at 20 if they eat all the food. 10. No good blocks whatsoever. I have a trade down with Strike Force or just a chump. Just chump the 4 at this point. Get rid of the downwind ambusher with that. Then I have 1 crumb and get it. So blow up, block, 4 damage, go to 3. They get to gain 3 life and then tap the Overseer to draw a card, so they do lose 1 life when they tap this, but it's going to end up just as a net gain 2 life plus draw a card every time they sack a food. Incredible stuff. You got me? I mean, this is such a bummer that I have to give them another food when they're already so good at using the foods. They got the double up removal too. If they have double up removal, we're dead. We can repel the 4 power creature and take 7. Alright. Well. Absolutely nothing we could do about that fantastic curve from our opponent. Alright, here we are for game 4. Swordmaster into Elder into Rabbit. If I want to just go full speed ahead. Kinda do. I want to go full speed ahead with the Swordmaster. The Rabbit I might not. If I draw like anything else to play, then I might not. Although now I need to hit 2 lands in a row to offspring this Rabbit, which feels very unlikely. Yeah. So whenever I hit the 3rd land, I'm just going to play the 3-drop. We can't reliably hit runner on lands towards the offspring ability. Well, okay, against a 3/3 menace, it might be better to just crumb and get it here. Actually, yeah, this plays way better. So now we get to actually eat the Mentor instead of just, what, poking for 3. And then I counter their next play and follow up with Rabbit. Whether or not we draw land, but hopefully we do, because then it'll be a better Rabbit. Whoop. Get out of here. Rats. Oh, well, I drew a better play than Rabbit. Instead of giving +1/+1 till end of turn, I'll give +1/+1 forever. They're down to 6. They're stuck on 3 mana. They played 2 3-drops in a row. They did top deck land 4. And conceded the game. We are 3-1 no matter what happens here. This is a 50-50 run on this draft, which means that we have maintained a very positive win rate through the launch of Bloomburrow now. So great start to our Premier Drafts, even if we lose the next 2 games. Back at it again with the 2-mana non-flyer into the 3-mana Plume-Creed Mentor. We are on the draw again here. Oof. Opponent drops a 2-mana Mana Dork on the play and follows it up with a 4-drop on their turn 3 on the play. That is a lot. Probably go for mana efficiency here of playing Plume Creed Mentor and then Elder plus Repel Calamity next turn, rather than repelling right now. Need to make sure I use the Lupin Flower Village to cast the Warren Elder, since that cannot cast non-creature spells. Alright, Raccoon Rallier. If they cast another 2 or 3 mana spell they've expended, they shoot me in the face and put a counter on Wandertail Mentor, and they absolutely did. They took out the trash, they threw away our burb. And now they're slamming for 7. Menace there so I can't block, and 4 power on their mana dork. Thanks to all the expending, so I can't profitably block there either. It's just a chump. Just looks like another insane curve from this opponent now. Kind of looking just unstoppable here. Oh, let's get the... Oops, we can get the double block set up and repel or dazzling denial based on what our opponent does. But they have so much mana, they'd have to cast a really big spell for me to be able to denial it. But that is something green-red decks might be wanting to do. Play the big 5/5 haste boar, 5/5 trample haste, we can counter that. Definitely seems up this deck's alley. I mean, they're mostly raccoons, but they would certainly play the boar. Final card in their hand. Is it another spell? Because if so, they expend and we basically just die on the spot. Ooh. Might be an instant. They're going to use like a combat trick here. Okay. If it's Overprotect for +3/+3 trample indestructible hexproof, I do not think that I have a play around that, because they wouldn't cast it unless I try to repel, and if I try to repel I get blown out. But then if I don't try to repel, it's not like I can denial it, because they'll just hold on to it. And I guess on board I'm just taking 6 here, so maybe they will use it as a trick to try to kill both of these instead of just the 2/2. I could theoretically repel before this damage, but then I don't have the denial up. And then if this last card is Overprotect, we get got pretty badly. It's Rabid Gnaw. Okay, that's also really bad for me. So now I have to Dazzling Denial the Rabid Gnaw, which makes me go to 2 life total. Incredibly likely to die, but they don't have the pinger anymore, and then I can repel the Mentor next turn. They're down to 2 2/2s on board. We can do our best to survive the 2 2/2s. So I've got the 3/4 to block 1 2/2. And I'll have a 3/2 to block the other one. Yep. So if I wait for them to draw a card, that goes poorly if they have Overprotect in their deck, if they draw the Hexproof trick. But it goes well if they draw a lot of the green and red removal spells, where they try to make their creature bigger and then kill my thing, then I can kill it in response. Or if they draw like just a big boar or something, I also get to kill it because they would like play it, give haste or something. If it's just some random big creature. I guess the boar is a bad example because the boar already has haste. But you know what I mean. Alright. 1 card in hand, it's whatever the top deck was. It is a 1/1, but it does get a +1/+1 counter when they play pretty much anything. Alright, I'm going to have 2 blockers up here, so I will go ahead and send in for 5, even though that has trample. So yeah, they're a raccoon deck, and this gets a +1/+1 counter whenever they play a raccoon. Yeah, that's going to be big. Well, I'm glad their creature's a 1/1. That was a great draw for opponent. So now if they top deck removal again, I am dead on the spot. So I think I need to hold off for a turn. Okay. They have to draw exactly Conduct Electricity to kill me on the spot now. So I'm going to attack. They need to draw a removal spell that kills 2 creatures. No! Okay, well, I'm still slightly alive. No, I'm not. I'm dead. I get trampled for 1. Wow! +3/+3 equipment? Oh my god. Well, incredible 2 draws in a row from our opponent. I still think that attack was right there when we've got 2 separate blockers. Obviously, if we knew they had exactly the sword on top, it wasn't, but that was so unlikely. Dang. Just wanted to put the pressure on them, give them less draw steps to hit something like a boar that would just kill us no matter what. 3 and 2 it is. Have to draw into that blue source here, but we have the Swordmaster to target with the Mentor, which is great. Just gonna gamble on this one. We have 2 castable spells. Alright. 3 castable spells. Pretty happy to have the 2/3 against that 2-mana 2/2 there. We're playing against black-red. That is going to have a lot of lizards in the color pair. A lot of cards that care about having dealt damage to us. Sure. Crack the village, or hold up Repel Calamity, or play the Elder. But I can only do one of those 3 things. Since cracking the village basically cost me 3 mana, I have to sack the village. And tap it. I guess I can play Elder and hold up Calamity. And if nothing else, Calamity can kill this duo if they expend 4. So if they spend 4 mana on spells. Okay, that's 2 mana on spells. No expending. Hello, blue source. Now I can play Plume-Creed Mentor and hold up Repel Calamity at the same time. I cannot have a 4-power attacker right now, though, so whatever I put the counter on is going to trade into one of their 2 creatures. Actually should have put this on the gerbils, because this trading into the 2/2 raccoon is not exciting, but trading into roughshod duo I'd be fine with. Yeah, I should have actually put that counter on something that would have turned into a 3 toughness card. I kind of instinctually wanted to spread my threats out and have them all be like decently sized. Ooh, Raccoon Rally or Emberheart Challenger is a big card draw engine. So if we ever get the opportunity to deal with that, I would like to. All right. Find a bonus Warren Elder. Well, now that we know that you have these two working together in conjunction, I think we'll just take any trade we can get to whittle that stuff down. Get rid of the little wombo combo. Okay, Shore Up does not save Warren Elder, so we let it happen. And here's a new one, which is actually pretty relevant. Warren Elder's ability is kind of scary for our opponent right now, because we are running out of cards in hand. Once we're out of stuff to do, we can just buff the board every turn. They did hit their 4th land here, so play 4 mana worth of stuff. They could technically Grave Dig, but I highly doubt that's what they want to do. Teapot Slinger is the play. We have finally found a Repel Calamity target. I will repel you, vile Teapot Masher. Will I? Yeah, that's still better than an Offspringed Intrepid Rabbit, is it not? It's gotta be. Yep, then we have to do it pre-blocks to get as many creatures through as possible. Boom, that turns into a 4/3. They have to double block to kill. They can trade Warren Elder into Raccoon Rallier. Take 2, 6, 7, 8 if they want to keep Emberheart Challenger. Yeah, this is trade here, take 8. Feels like their best blocks available. I think double block gerbils, but Elder's the better card to kill. Yeah, no, their blocks are bad enough. We can sack Warren Elder here to get extra damage in. Actually force a trade by sending Warren Elder in, because they can't let it all through or they're dead on board. Alright, Raccoon Rallier is gone and they are at 2 life against all this. If they have no removal, they're just dead to the flyer alone. And they can't deal with all 4 of our creatures, so it is going to be 4 and 2 now. Alright, here we are for game 7. Unfortunately on the draw on this one. But I like the curve. We're going to play gerbils and then Strike Force and hold up the Escort for later. Got the Crumb and get it Strike Force. Big damage swing if we want. Gev. Okay, turn 2 Gev on the play. Rip. So if they play any lizard, they automatically deal 1 damage to us, and then because they've dealt damage to us, the lizard comes into play with a +1/+1 counter. Otherwise, they do need to kill Jolly Gerbils to actually hit us with Gev. Or they need to have some kind of combat trick. Because we've got that Jolly Gerbils to get right in the way there. Hopefully. Could have alternatively tried to play the Escort to surprise kill Gev. Oh my god. It's immediately a lizard, and it's a lizard that doubles the damage. That's a very surprising attack. Snap trade. Okay. They must have some graveyard recursion or something very bad for me. So this is a 5/4 thanks to its own ability, and all their lizards are doing 1 extra damage everywhere. Well, Shore Up and Crumb and Get It together could stack into a kill on Flamecaller. Technically, if I cast only one of them, the Shrike Force will trade into the Flamecaller. But if we can get to the point where we... Oh my god! If we can get it to the point where we first strike it away, that'll be significantly better. So... yeah. Play the blue source so I could play these two and the escort. Salvation Swan not even good right now. I mean, it is. It's a 3/3 flash flyer, but it does not have an enter the battlefield effect. Cool. I mean, not cool, but... do I kill the Flamecaller or the Captain? I mean, they're both really bad for me. This stacks up 1 extra damage on everything, and it's a 5/4 base stats. This stacks up 2 extra damage on 1 target, and it's a 2/3 base stats. I guess it can give itself that extra 2 damage, so a 4/3. I think I just kill the Flamecaller. They try to instant speed removal through this, I can escort. In response, they do not try to instant speed removal. So we take 4 instead of 5. That's the other nice thing about doing this. We first strike away the Flamecaller, so we don't take the extra damage from this mouse. Uncharted Haven on red. Yikes. Return Gev and Valley Flamecaller to the hand. Alright. We're at 6 now. Can trade Salvation Swan into Brambleguard Captain and go from there. Not really going anywhere from there if we don't top deck perfectly every turn, but we'll see. It's always possible. Very unlikely, but possible. Gev plus Flamecaller puts us to 4. Or Kindle Spark Duo instead is the play. Well, that's super dead, right? Ping us, play Flamecaller, untap it. Now it's untapped because they played a... oh, it's non-creatures only. Okay, I thought it was non-creatures or lizards for some reason. I mean, this very easily pings us to death with Valley Flamecaller, though, still. Just Warren Elder during my turn to send a message. Still put 2 power there. 2/4. This isn't going to attack because it's just going to be doing as much damage to tap anyway. Yeah, sure. We'll just send a message, do that offensively. But I think we're dead this turn to some Kindle Spark Duo Valley Caller nonsense. Oh yeah, Gev pings us too. So there's a Gev ping, then Flamecaller's down. Now Duo pings 2 each time. If they cast any non-creature spell, we're dead. Lizard Spell's also a 2 damage ping, so Lizard Spell plus Duo. That works too. Well, that was a wombo combo from our opponent and a tremendously aggressive curve. Gev turn 2, Valley Flamecaller turn 3. And then Brambleguard Captain turn 4. Just another kind of curve out you just can't stop. It's a lot of modern limited magic. Just draft as good a deck as you can. And sometimes you get to just drop some unbeatable curves on your opponents. We did that a couple times. And sometimes you're going to run up against some unbeatable curves. But there are always those games in between that could go either way, depending on how you play. So a lot of steamrolls though today. A lot of curve outs that did not feel super stoppable. 4-3 for this deck. Very reasonable record. I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't think either of our rares were super balmy, and we didn't even get to play with the Dowerport Mage anyway. So I don't think the deck is super explosive, but it's still well built off of the Plume-Creed Mentor with just 2-drop non-flyer curve out potential. Just showing off the power of that Signpost Uncommon and building around that card. We've done it a couple times before, now we have done it once again. I just think curving out with Plume-Creed Mentor is great, and obviously curving out with Intrepid Rabbit is great. We see that in almost every white deck though, so just good blue-white flyers, aggro nonsense. Pulls out the 4-3. Perfectly average run, but pretty average deck, so I don't hate it at all. Still gives us pretty much our whole prize out back, all our gems. Well, 1,400 of our 1,500 gems. And we get to keep all the cards and a few extra packs. Not a bad way to end off the draft. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.